The biggest movie of the year has just arrived, and everyone's more interested in its box office numbers than the movie itself. You guessed it right, folks. We're talking about The Blue People, and this time they're here with more clarity and better technology. But how did the movie perform at the box office? In this video, we'll talk about how much Avatar: Way of Water has earned since its release, and can it reach the billion mark? First up, how much Avatar 2 has made since its release. A new story from the world of Pandora has finally set foot into theaters, and it's making big bucks. But the billion-dollar question is, will it break its predecessor's record? Will Avatar 2 finally dethrone Endgame, which had to be released twice in theaters just to pull the magic the original Avatar did? So, here's the story so far. The Way of Water opened with the 5th biggest opening weekend of the year, and that's not bad, considering mega hits like Wakanda Forever, Top Gun: Maverick, and Doctor Strange 2 previously smashed the box office. Avatar 2 has been the talk of the town since the trailer release. Everyone's giving their take on whether it will reach the same height as the first movie, but it's highly unlikely. Avatar 1 sits at a staggering lifetime business of more than $2.9 billion. But fortunately, The Way of Water had a promising start. The movie is racing just into its second weekend, and it's already made nearly $600 million. That's the amount a few movies make in a lifetime. The movie earned $411.6 million on its opening weekend, and the way things are now, it can potentially hit the $1 billion mark in no time. But that's saying if the movie doesn't have competition over Christmas, because watching aliens fight for their home might not be everyone's cup of tea. Avatar has garnered over $183 million in the US alone, while its overseas earnings have crossed $426 million. By comparison, Avatar 2 is already the 10th highest grossing movie of the year, and it can easily land itself in the top 5. Cameron was skeptical about the movie outperforming the original, saying that the magic of the first was just phenomenal, and it has an extraordinary run. Up next, did Pandora's Box fish in top dollar for James Cameron? The Way of Water crossed the $400 million mark in its opening weekend, while the original movie could only gross $240 million after its opening weekend back in 2009. However, things took a surprising turn, and by the end of January 2010, the movie had earned over $2.7 billion. It was truly an experience because Avatar seemed like the first of its kind, despite the story being told 100 times in different formats. The way James Cameron presented it was mind-boggling. He presented such a simple story on such a grand scale that people were fascinated to the core. As for Avatar 2, though it's hard to create the original magic with 3D being the norm these days, the audience said that it had been blown away by the sheer detail that Cameron had used in the movie. Avatar 2 opened in 52 offshore territories, among which China was its most notable market. But a new wave of coronavirus in the country could affect the movie's business if that's what it's all about. But we mean, can't people simply enjoy a good movie or a rare cinema experience? But for the sale of it, let's continue. Avatar 2 registered the second biggest opening weekend of 2022 outside of North America with $307.6 million, and was able to rack in $57.1 million in China, which could have been more if it weren't for COVID. During the opening weekend, it was reported by AMC that 70% of all admissions revenue for the movie came from format like Dolby Cinema theaters, 3D, and IMAX. In simple words, people loved the movie in 3D as they did back then. Following that, how much did it exactly cost to make Avatar 2? Numbers show that Avatar: The Way of Water is one of the most expensive movies of all time. James Cameron poured a whopping $230 million into making his Blue People look more exotic and cinema-worthy even back in 2009. It took more than a decade to get this one in perfect shape, and he took his sweet time and money to make that happen. James has been quite hush-hush about revealing Avatar 2's budget, but initial estimates have reached a figure of $250 million just for production. However, it's now being suggested that the original number could be anywhere between $350 and $400 million. The movie has to rely heavily on CGI, since none of the characters featured in Avatar 2 exist outside of the computer. Yes, the actors did have to perform motion capture, but the rest is all technology, and that cost Cameron to put up a huge stack of bills. Recently, new reports have emerged which put the production budget up to $460 million, making The Way of Water the most expensive movie in Hollywood. Deadline reported the estimate, saying that more than $100 million has been put up just for marketing. The director of the movie also said that the sequel would need to be either third or the 4th highest grossing movie in history just to meet the break even. Well, Cameron should thank the heavens because Avatar 2 has successfully grossed over $600 million, and whether they use $250 or $400 million, at least they're covered. Fox Media earlier reported that Cameron's vision of a 5-movie franchise can reach a combined budget of $1 billion and will make these the most expensive movies ever ever made. Coming up, these are the most expensive movies of 2022. Speaking of big budget movies, the Avatar franchise is just the tip of the iceberg. Some of the most expensive movies in the world may have a combined budget equivalent to some small nation's economy. Well, 2022 was no exception in terms of movie makers spending big bucks on creativity and Tom Cruise's face. So, here are the top 5 most expensive movies of 2022. Just a note, we'll be skipping The Way of Water. Black Panther 2. Black Panther Wakanda Forever was an emotional roller coaster ride for many, so it had to be epic. Black Panther 2 brought upon the closure of Marvel Phase 4, but the special thing about it, besides a tribute to Chadwick Boseman, was its massive budget. The movie was made with a massive budget of $250 million, which earned him the title of the second most expensive Hollywood movie of 2022. It ranks 18th in the overall list of the most expensive movies. Wakanda Forever earned a whopping $738.2 million worldwide, making it the 7th highest grosser of 2022. Thor: Love and Thunder, another Marvel gem that rocked 2022 both with its hilarious take on the God of Thunder and earnings at the box office. Just when everyone thought it couldn't get any sadder for Thor, it did. The good thing is that Marvel spared no expense in making that happen and assigned the movie a gigantic budget of $250 million. It became the second most expensive movie of the year and garnered over $760 million at the box office. The movie marks the 4th installment of the Thor franchise, starring Tessa Thompson, Chris Hemsworth, Natalie Portman, and Taika Waititi. Lightyear. Many would say that Lightyear was a box office bomb because first, it was a Disney movie, and second, it didn't earn twice or even thrice its budget. So yeah, it gotta hurt somewhere. Anyway, for an animated movie, Lightyear was made with an eye-watering budget of $200 million. The adventurous spin-off to the highly acclaimed animated movie franchise, Toy Story, starred Chris Evans, Keke Palmer, Taika Waititi, and Uzo Aduba. Its budget made it the 3rd most expensive movie of 2022, but it failed to earn big at the theaters. It only grossed about $226.4 million and even brought loads of controversy. The Gray Man. Ryan Gosling never looked more breathtaking and dashing than he looked in the Netflix action movie The Gray Man. The action-packed thriller was a massive hit, and it was also the 3rd most expensive movie of 2022, with a budget of almost $200 million. It tied with Lightyear in terms of budget, but the movie was a massive success at the box office. It earned over $454 million worldwide, even as a movie released on a streaming platform. Chris Evans and Ryan Gosling looked divine throughout the movie in opposite roles. And finally, which upcoming movie in 2023 will bring in big money? Avatar: The Way of Water might be the last biggest hit of 2022, as the fans prepare for the fresh new movie slate of 2023. Of course, the obvious big budget movies will be coming from the Marvel Studios with their fancy new stories and country-sized budgets, but other big franchises are lining up to give each other a run for their money. For instance, the 10th movie in the Fast and Furious franchise is estimated to bring in more than $1 billion at the box office. F9 was the biggest box office haul after COVID, as it grossed over $726 million. Big names like Brie Larson and Jason Momoa will also join in on the action, and will probably take Cars to another dimension in the next installment. Marvel Studios will be opening their 2023 with Guardians of the Galaxy's final installment that's estimated to bring in over $900 million at the box office. Volume 3 will mark the end of the galaxy's most loved Guardians, and it's expected that emotions will be running high on this one. Volume 2 earned a whopping $869 million when it was released back in 2017. In the long list of Marvel movies reaching box office milestones, we also have a DC movie giving competition to MCU heroes, and it will be Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, probably Jason's last appearance as the Atlantic King. The movie is estimated to earn $800 million upon its release. The first installment was a gigantic success, garnering over $1 billion globally. The audience will also be rooting for the highly anticipated The Super Mario Bros. Movie and the much-awaited Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1. We hear Tom Cruise is jumping off of a cliff on a motorbike this time. And let's not forget Dune Part 2 and The Flash. And with all that, that's a wrap for this video. Which movie are you desperately waiting for in 2023? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.